Welcome back, boys and girls, mums and dads, dogs, cats, gerbils and whatever else. Now it's story time. I'm going to be telling you the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, so sit back, get comfy, stop fidgeting and open up your lug holes. Here we go. Once upon a time there lived a poor boy called Jack, and he lived with his old mum in a little cottage, and they had very few possessions. Well, one of the few things they owned was a cow called Daisy. No, Buttercup. Buttercup's a better name for a cow. It was a cow called Buttercup. Well, not that there's anything wrong with the name Daisy. Daisy's a lovely name for a child. If you call Daisy, it's a lovely name. Don't worry about it. It's just Buttercup's not a very nice name for a child. But anyway, what am I on about? Jack loved Daisy, Buttercup, the cow, very much. So you can imagine how hurt he was when his old mum turned to him one day and said, "I'm sorry, Jack, but we're going to have to sell her. We've got no money to buy food." Poor Jack. He wandered out into the field where Buttercup was and tied a little rope around her neck and said, "I'm sorry, Buttercup, but we're going to have to sell you at market." "Moo," said Buttercup. "You've been a good cow." "Moo," said Buttercup. However, on the way to market, Jack met a strange old man coming in the other direction. What a strange old man, thought Jack. "Hello, boy," said the strange old man. "What have you got there?" "What have you got there?" he said. He spoke a bit funny. "Well, this is my cow," said Jack. "Buttercup, I'm off to market to sell her." "Oh," said the old man. "I'll buy that cow off of you if you want." "Really?" thought Jack. Jack thought for a moment. "Well, what will you give me for her?" And the old man said, "Well, I won't give you any money, but I'll give you this bag. This bag which has 5 magic beans in it." "Well, magic beans are better than money," thought Jack. "All right then, you've got yourself a deal." And the old man handed Jack the bag full of 5 magic beans, and Jack handed over the rope around Buttercup's neck. "Goodbye, Buttercup," he said. "You've been a really good cow." "Moo," said Buttercup. "This old man's going to look after you now." "Moo," said Buttercup. And the old man led Buttercup away, and Jack ran home excitedly, like this. And when he got home, he burst through his door like this. Bam! "Mum," he shouted, "I've sold Buttercup." "Oh, that's nice, dear," said his old mum. "How much money did you get for her?" "None," said Jack. "What do you mean, none?" "I didn't get any money," said Jack. "I got these 5 magic beans." His mum looked in the bag. "You traded our cow, a cow that we've had for over 10 years, a cow that was almost part of the family, for some beans?" Well, his old mother was incensed. She grabbed the bag off Jack and threw it out of a window. "You silly boy," she said. "Now go to bed without any supper." And poor Jack had to go to his room with a very rumbly-tumbly indeed. Now, the next morning, Jack awoke to see a strange shadow across his bed. "Well, that's a strange shadow across my bed," thought Jack. And he went outside, and he saw to his amazement, growing from the vegetable patch, a huge beanstalk. Up and up it went, all intertwined and tangled, high, high up above the clouds. It was so high Jack couldn't see the top. "Mum!" he shouted, running inside. His mum was in the kitchen. "What is it now, Jack?" she said. "Come outside, Mum, come outside, look at this." His mum came outside. "I don't know what all this is about." "Oh, my goodness," said his mother. "Yes," said Jack. "So those were magic beans," said his mother. "Yes," said Jack. "I wonder what's at the top," said his mother. "I'm going to climb it and find out," said Jack. "Are you sure?" said his mum. "Yes," said Jack. And he started to climb. Luckily, the beanstalk had grown in such a twisting manner there were lots of handholds and footholds. Up he climbed, up and up and up he climbed, up and up and up and up he climbed, up and up. You get the idea. It took him a really long time to get to the top. But when he did, he was high above the clouds. And looking down, he could see his house and his mum and all the fields and the village. really tiny and very, very far away. And then looking around above the clouds, he saw he was actually in a beautiful land. Rolling hills, green fields, grazing sheep, little trickling streams. And right in the distance, he saw a castle. And his tummy rumbled. Grumble, grumble, grumble. He hadn't eaten for such a long time as he'd gone to bed last night without his supper, hasn't he? I wonder if there's any food at that castle, he thought, and he set off across the fields. After a short while he arrived at the wall of the castle, and there was a door in the wall, and he knocked on it. Dunk, dunk, dunk. It was opened by a very flustered-looking woman, as if she didn't often get people knocking on her door, you know. "Who are you and what do you want?" she asked Jack. "Well, my name's Jack," said Jack. "I don't suppose you've got any food," he begged. "I'm really, really hungry." "Well, I shouldn't let you in," said the woman. "My husband will be home soon. He doesn't like visitors." "Oh, all right," said Jack. He looked really crestfallen. The woman felt sorry for him. "Oh, all right, you can come in, but you have to be quick." And she led him inside. The woman led Jack into the kitchen, sat him down at the table, and gave him some bread and butter and a glass of milk. Jack ate his meal while the woman hovered nervously. But before Jack had finished, there came a loud boom, 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 as if someone large was walking along the corridor. "Oh, that's my husband! He's early, you better go," she said. Jack got up to go, but it was too late. The door was opening, and the woman grabbed Jack and pushed him into the oven, which luckily wasn't hot at that time, and shut the oven door behind him. Squeezing himself through the door came her husband, a giant. He sniffed the air.
"Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread."
"Oh," said his wife, "you're always smelling Englishman, and you know full well I make my bread with flour. Now sit down, I've got your tea ready."
"All right,"
mumbled the giant grumpily, sitting down in a chair that was far too small for him. The giant ate his dinner, and then when he'd finished, he pulled out of a chest by his side all of his bags of gold. His favourite hobby was to count his coins and see how rich he was.
"1 gold coin, 2 gold coin, 3 gold coin, 4 gold coin."
Time passed.
437 gold coin, 438 gold coin, 438.
And then the giant fell asleep with his head on the table. Jack opened the oven door and crept out as quietly as he could. The giant was asleep, and his wife must have forgotten that he was there. She'd gone off to do something else. "I'd better go," thought Jack, but before he went, he decided to steal one of the bags of gold. So he tiptoed over to the table, and he reached up, and he grabbed one of the bags of gold, the one nearest to him, and he tried to take it as quietly as possible. It's not easy with a bag full of coins, and he did. The giant stirred in his sleep. Jack ran for his life, out the door, down the path, across the fields, down the beanstalk, till he got home. When he got down to the ground, he showed his mum the bag of gold. She was really pleased. This more than made up for the sale of the cow. Jack and his mother spent the money wisely. They repaired the house, mended the leaky roof, even bought a couple of new cows. But the money didn't last forever, and soon they were running out of gold coins. "What are we going to do?" asked his mother. "I'll have to climb the beanstalk and steal another bag of gold," said Jack. "Oh, do be careful, Jack," said his mum. So the next day, Jack climbed the beanstalk once more. Up he climbed, up and up and up he climbed, up and up and up he climbed, up and up. Once more he was in Cloudland, and he saw all the fields full of sheep and the little trickling streams, and there in the distance was the castle, and he set off to the door in the wall. That's lovely. Right. And he knocked on the door, and it was opened by the flustered wife again. "Oh, it's you again," said the wife. "What do you want this time?" "Well, I'm really hungry. Do you mind if I come in and have a bite to eat?" "Well, all right, but this has to be absolutely the last time," said the giant's wife. "And don't be too long either. My husband will be back any second, and you know what he's like." And she led him in to the kitchen and sat him down at the table, gave him some more bread and butter and a glass of milk. As Jack was eating, he heard the familiar boom, boom, boom of the giant's footsteps coming down the corridor towards the kitchen. "Oh, he's back early," said the giant's wife. "You better hide in this big pot." And she pushed Jack into a big pot and put the lid on it, just as the door opened. The giant squeezed himself through the door.
"I'm home, love,"
said the giant. "Oh, lovely," said the giant's wife. "Did you have a nice day?"
"Oh, you know, the usual. Stomped around a bit, squashed a few people, ripped up a few trees, blah, blah, blah."
"Oh, that's nice, dear. Now you sit down, I've got your tea ready." And the giant was just about to sit down at the dining table when he sniffed the air.
"Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread."
"Oh, not this again," said his wife. "Now, I've told you once already. There's no one here now. Sit down and have your dinner."
"Are you sure? I still haven't found that big bag of coal that went missing a few weeks ago."
"Oh, well, you probably just misplaced it, dear," said his wife. Said the giant, sitting down. After his dinner, the giant called for his magic hen. He plonked the hen on the table.
"Magic hen,
Said the giant,
lay me an egg."
and the chicken strained. Jack, peeping out from under the lid of the pot he was hiding in, saw the chicken lay a golden egg on the table. Soon the giant fell asleep, with his head on the table, as he always did after he'd eaten his dinner, and Jack lifted the lid off the pot carefully, quietly crept out of the pot. The giant's wife was nowhere to be seen yet again. "I know what I'll do," he thought. "I'll take that hen." Jack tiptoed over to the table, and he reached up and he grabbed the magic hen. He wanted to test the hen's powers before he ran away, so he whispered to the hen, "Magic hen, magic hen, lay me an egg." And the hen strained and laid a golden egg. "Brilliant," thought Jack, and he grabbed the hen. "Shh, don't struggle," and he ran out the door, across the fields, down the beanstalk. Unfortunately, the giant had heard the door slam behind him, and looking around he saw his hen was missing, and he knew that a thief had been in his castle. He was furious, and he rushed out of the door and ran across the fields. Jack, meanwhile, was climbing down and down the beanstalk, and the giant reached the top of the beanstalk, and he looked down.
"A beanstalk? What's that doing here?"
Looking down, he saw the tiny figure of Jack climbing down the beanstalk, and the even tinier magic hen in his hands.
"Come back here with my magic hen, you thief!"
shouted the giant, and he started to climb down the beanstalk too. Jack picked up the pace. It wasn't easy, climbing down a beanstalk with a chicken under your arms. Eventually, he reached the bottom. "Mum, quick, fetch me an axe." "What on earth do you want an axe for?" said his mum. "An axe, just, here, hold this chicken." And he ran off to the woodshed, and he got an axe, and he started to chop down the beanstalk. Chop, 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 like that. Jack looked up. The giant was about halfway down. He continued to chop, 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 chop. Halfway up the beanstalk, the giant felt it sway from side to side.
"Uh-oh,"
thought the giant. He was a bit stuck, really. Should he go back up or should he continue going down? Back at the bottom, Jack was continuing to chop, 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 and then he was through. The beanstalk fell. And the giant fell from a great height.
"Oh, no!"
And that was the end of him. Now we're nearly at the end of our story. All that needs to be said is that Jack and his mother never went hungry again. If ever they ran out of money, they just needed to ask the magic hen to lay an egg. And they were very generous with their money. They helped all the people in the village, and they gave a lot of money to charity. And they also found that strange man who'd bought Buttercup, and they bought Buttercup back. And she went to live with the other cows in the field, and well, that's about it, really. And that's the end. And the moral to that story is, well, if you've got a cow, you must No. Always keep an axe hand. No. What? I don't know. Just be nice to each other. Right. Off you pop, and I'll see you in a little while.